So between the 1950s and 1960s, there was a pastor named Dr. Howard Lee who came into the church, and the story was it would rain hard on the inside of the church and it on the outside because there were like pots and pans in the pews, and so he wanted to do something to make sure that it was preserved and taken care of. So they did a number of different processes in the restoration project. One was they cut holes in the ceiling, and that's where they installed those big lights, because lighting is always a problem in this building. So now, they kind of shine down during the service. It's a lot easier to read. But in order to patch it, they put that blue background up. They kind of, I guess they contracted like a church design firm to come in and pick a color or background, and so they came up with that blue background. And it's painted. So when we redo the ceiling, they patch it, and then they end up having to match that pattern. But the stars in the ceiling, it's very traditional for cathedrals to do that, to mimic the night sky, so that you're kind of, looking at, like if you're looking up to God, you're looking up to the stars in the sky. That's when they also did the symbols in the dome, Christ's crown of thorns, the triangle, and 3 dots representing the Trinity.
Okay.
The 5 scrolls that were coming from behind the triangle represent the first 5 books of the Bible.
Okay.
But the stained glass windows took an additional 12 years to be fabricated. So the building was completed in 1890, and they had kind of like a pale glass window in all of these that would open for ventilation. And then they would have a shade that would draw over it so they can control the light. And then just above the little square windows, you see a bracket. That's where they would tie off the shade. So they never removed them after they installed the stained glass, they just kept them. But the stained glass is all of the Apostles' Creed. They wanted it to be something understood by all Christians. And so the wording of the creed changes very little between the different denominations. And so it starts up at the rose window and then continues around the sanctuary. Most of the windows were too narrow to do a scene except for the east wall. And so they used the text, and then just above the text is like a round medallion with a symbol. And then above the medallion is a tree or plant representing something about the text. So we know what everything is, we just don't know how it all kind of comes together, if that makes sense. But Herman Schleiderman was the artist who designed them and fabricated them. He worked with Tiffany in the college, so did a lot of stained glass work. He was a muralist. He did a lot of interior spaces in the homes of the wealthy up north.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.